Hey everyone, I want to dedicate this video to everyone that we lost this year. 2020 has the highest numbers ever for the most transgender or non-conforming gender people who were killed by murder, buried alive, strung up and hung, shot to death. This is being considered an epidemic of violence. We have lost almost 4,000 people in the last few years, transgender people who have been killed, or their deaths were misreported on or suspicious. We're going to read this list, and these are several of the people that we have lost in 2020. The HRC continues to work toward justice and equality for transgender and gender nonconforming people. We mourn those we have lost in 2020. Dustin Parker, 25 years old, was fatally shot in McAlester, Oklahoma early on New Year's Day. His employers released a statement shortly after his death, remembering Parker as a steadfast friend, an amazing husband and father, and generous to a fault. He loved fiercely, worked tirelessly, and took on the life with so much hope and enthusiasm that his presence brightened all of our lives. I'm sorry if I mispronounce anyone's name. Nulisa Ruiz was fatally shot in Toa Boa, Puerto Rico, February 24th. According to Metro Puerto Rico, members of her community knew her as humble and noble. Yampi Mendez Oraco, 19, was killed in Rico on March 5th. A transgender man shared his... Tucker, be quiet. Shh. A transgender man shared his love for basketball and the NBA, donning Miami Heat apparel on social media. The biography line on his Facebook reads simply, "Humility prevails." Scott DeVore, a 51-year-old gender nonconforming person, was killed in Augusta, Georgia. Friends remember DeVore as sweet and beautiful on Facebook. Monica Diamond, 34, a black transgender woman, was killed in Charlotte, North Carolina on March 18th. Diamond was active in the Charlotte LGBTQ and nightlife community and was the co-owner of an event promotion company. She was also the co-CEO of the International Mother of the Year pageantry system, a pageant that honors LGBTQ mothers. And you know, being from North Carolina, it's a state that is so, when I was growing up, it was so mean. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying where I grew up at in North Carolina, a lot of the people were so awful to gay people, transgender people, they were racist. It was just a rough area. Lexi, 33, a transgender woman. Lexi, a 33-year-old transgender woman, was killed in Harlem, New York, March 28th. According to reports, Lexi was fatally stabbed in Harlem River Park. "I really looked up to her because of her tolerance and respect," said Lavania Brooks, a friend of Lexi. "Lexi had a beautiful heart. She was very gifted." Brooks also noted that Lexi loved poetry, makeup, and fashion. Johanna Metzger, a transgender woman, was killed in Baltimore, Maryland on April 11th. According to reports, she was visiting a Baltimore recovery center from Pennsylvania at that time. Johanna was known for her love of music and taught herself to play multiple instruments. Serena Ramos, 32, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. I'm sorry, I have a speech impediment and I cannot pronounce Puerto Rico properly. Was killed on April 21st. Ramos was killed alongside Layla Sanchez, 21, according to reports. Ramos was visiting the island on vacation and was set to return to her home in Queens, New York, at the end of the month. Loved ones are mourning her death, calling her full of life, a happy person, and a sincere friend. On May 1st, 2 men were charged under federal hate crimes law for Ramos's death. I know people are like, "You're so emotional. Lily, you're just so emotional." But once you lose people that you love, you feel for other people who lose their lost ones, their lost loved ones, and know that two men were charged under federal hate crimes law and they were fatally stabbed. It's like, why do you hate somebody like that? Why do you have to take their life? It just, at least they caught the murderers. At least they were able to get the people who did it. Layla Sanchez, 21, and that's the person who was just in the last post alongside of Ramos's death. Layla Sanchez, 21, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 21st. Sanchez was killed alongside Serena Ramos. According to reports, Sanchez had recently moved to the island and was living in the Tejas neighborhood in Los Pedros. On May 1st, two Puerto Rican men were charged under federal hate crime law for Sanchez's death. Penelope Ramirez, a transgender woman, was killed in Puerto Rico on April 13th. Penelope did not deserve to die. Transgender people do not deserve to die. Every single advocate, ally, elected official, and community member must stand up in light of this horrific news and say no more. What we are doing is not enough, said Tori Cooper, HRC Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. Nina Pop, a black transgender woman, was killed in Saxton, Missouri on May 3rd. She was deeply loved by her family, friends, and community, according to her Facebook page. And they're right. Politicians, the public figures are not saying anything. Hell, most YouTubers with a huge platform aren't saying anything. Or they might say something one time and never speak about it again. Haley O'Regan, 20, a transgender woman, was killed in San Antonio, Texas on May 6th. O'Regan was proud of her trans identity on Twitter. She often spoke out against injustice, including the LGBTQ inequality, the prison industrial complex, and the need to decriminalize sex work. Damian Terrell Campbell, 42, has been charged with O'Regan's murder. Tony McKay, a black transgender man, was killed in Tallahassee, Florida on May 27th. His friends and family shared how he was an energetic, giving person with a big heart. This has to stop. It has to stop. We as a community have to stand up, and it has to stop. People have to speak out. We have to protect our communities.